5 years. Lies, betrayal, secret meetings. She thought it was love, but she was just one of many. How do you tell real love from manipulation? And why can't he seem to let her go? My story is lengthy for that, I apologize, but I feel heartbroken and not sure how to fix myself. I'll start by saying I know no one is perfect and it takes two to make a relationship work. I met my now 46-year-old ex-boyfriend through MySpace almost 15 years ago. What started as his girlfriend at the time talking to me, I think looking for a third, which not for me, turned into him messaging me. Somehow we exchanged phone numbers, and for about 10 years he would text a few times, or I'd stop to see him at work once or twice a year. Strictly platonic, was not my type, and I had a boyfriend. I never asked his relationship statuses throughout the years, as it was platonic, and he wasn't my type. Fast forward now 10 years since I met him through my space. My current relationship wasn't the best with my boyfriend of almost 10 years, and when I was drunk, randomly decided to stop and visit him at work. I guess just wanting attention and support. Nothing physical, still platonic, but that is where it all began. We began talking more, and I began spending time with him. He continued to push for a relationship, but we had nothing in common, and I had a boyfriend. I started developing feelings and told my boyfriend there was now someone else, and I began a physical relationship with my now ex. But now he soon became distant, going one weekend from wanting a picture of us together to suddenly being busy at work. So one night I stopped to visit him at work. His face had a total look of shock as I was greeted by a desk girl with a harsh tone. He was busy working, so I asked him to text later. As I walked out, I heard the desk girl loudly question, "Who's she? Your top component placement." I wanted to turn around and say the girl he's been having sex with, but it was his place of business, so I just left. He met up with me the next day to explain that was his ex-girlfriend he got back together with. I was of course hurt, but again don't understand why he couldn't be honest. Instead of using work as an excuse to why we hadn't seen each other, just say I hot back together with my ex-GF. He claimed they were together for 4 years, and her son had lived with him at one point. Not sure how true it was or the details because I know of another woman he had some involvement with at some point in those 4 years. When I asked where she thought he was as he was meeting up with me, he said, "My mother's." All of this should have been signs, especially as he later told me the reason for the final breakup was her being insecure. I mean, you did lie and tell her you were at your parents' when meeting up with me. Was that the only time you ever lied to her? I was not willing to have sex with him knowing he has a girlfriend. That's not who I am. So I left. We still texted from time to time, and after a few months they broke up again and back to messaging me. But I decided to get back with the boyfriend I left for him and wasn't willing to break that up to be hurt again. But I did make the mistake of cheating with him a few times. I was not on social media, but apparently there was in fact another woman in the picture, which I had no clue till once we were together a while, and say her picture on his social media as WCW Pictures, same time he was hooking up with me. After several months, I finally made the split again from my boyfriend to be with him, but again busy. I suspect he was still with this other woman, so I waited around until finally a few months in, finally referred to me as his girlfriend. I still had my reservations. He never really took me out. Times he'd disappear for more than a day claiming he was in bed sick. His business put on a Halloween party. He didn't tell me or invite me. Christmas time, he lied saying he was at his parents', but I drove by and he was home. So I stopped. He began claiming his anxiety was bothering him. I wonder if in fact he was upset about this other woman. New Year's Eve again lied, said he was at his parents'. I even helped him buy seafood for 2 people for New Year's. He claimed his stepfather did not eat seafood. I again drove by and he was home. This time I did not stop by. I now know around Christmas this other woman started showing up on his social media. I should have had a conversation with him about who she was when I saw her pictures from previous year on his Instagram, but I figured I wasn't his girlfriend at that time, so none of my business. As time went on in our relationship, he still never took me out on dates unless it was a movie he wanted to see after he finished working. Sometimes he would say we would see a movie after he saw his parents on Sunday afternoon, and I'd wait for a text that never came. One random day as he was fixing his vehicle, we were kissing and he looked into my eyes and said, "Please don't hurt me." I would never. But I thought, OMG, he's so sweet and vulnerable. So many days when I would spend the night the next day before getting out of bed, I'd squeeze him tight and say, don't go. I loved him so much, but things seemed off. One morning, I took him to pick up his vehicle from the garage, and he commented about taking it a few cities away to go to Cabela's to test the transmission soon. Ironically, that very same day, this other woman posted a review of that Cabela's. Finally, come April, I reached a breaking point when I sent him seductive pictures, and I got little to no response. I felt totally humiliated and rejected because I hate any kind of pictures, but I put myself out there for him. I had a friend's birthday dinner that evening and wanted to see him before dinner, and he again lied, saying he was at work, but his car was home. I did not stop because I was afraid to make him angry, as a few times I had randomly stopped by in the past when he would not respond. But I desperately wanted to see him and talk to him about us as things didn't feel right. That night at dinner, I drank a bit too much and drove over after dinner to find a strange car in his driveway. He claimed he was at his parents', so I drove up there, he wasn't there. So I was distraught and furious and sent him a message with a picture of the car's license plate. His response was anger. Told me he was selling that car for his cousin. He's not a cheater. He doesn't play games. I did shortly after see the car up for sale. However, he convinced me I ruined our relationship. I began therapy to try to fix the broken part of me that caused me to ruin my relationship. He would not talk to me. I was unable to eat or go to work. I would randomly get blank text messages from him at times, or the occasional casual text. When I would respond, he would claim, must be something wrong with the provider. He didn't text, or it was from a few days ago. I checked with friends figuring they would know others with same cell provider, and no one had these strange messages or problems. Finally, he agreed to let me come over. Why I didn't run away was beyond me. I knew he was using me for sex as if he was doing me a favor, but figured at least he's not with someone else. What I didn't know was him saying he did not want to look at me meant he put a bag over my head to have sex, and then I was told to leave. To this day, I carry so much shame for not running away immediately, but I was so desperate to fix what I thought I broke. By now it is May and his birthday is approaching. I knew he would not spend his birthday alone and knew he would go out UTV riding. I did see and have sex with him that morning, despite a strange car being in his driveway that night. I drove by after coming home from Philly after 2 a.m. But by 10 a.m., I was there in his bed, so maybe the neighbor parked there? I mean, can one woman really leave your bed so early for another one to be in it? Apparently it can. After I left, he was off to UTV ride. I texted that evening, telling him to let me know if he wanted company, to which I was met with angry response, telling me he was out riding and doing what he loves, and only responded "'cause stop for a break" as he's texting me. I'm driving by where he parks his vehicle as it sits in the lot with trailer, so it's awfully hard to UTV ride without your vehicle and trailer to get back. I didn't say I was on to him, just let it go, as he then began texting how it would take time to build back trust. Later that night again, drive by, same car in the driveway, which I later came to find out was in fact her car. A car I'm also positive I had seen other occasions, parked evenings on street in front of his house, but it was a bright yellow car. So I just figured neighbor kid's friends, assuming it was a younger person's car. So a few days go by, and I stopped by his garage to confront him about her and the car. I was told he just started talking to her again. Like she showed up on his social media in December. I now know she went UTV riding with him in February, and he posted a picture on UTV Facebook he runs of her in his UTV. I was told he didn't know whose car it was. Different people park there all the time. This from the same man who got upset a few weeks ago. Someone parked in the spot he usually does, on the public street in front of his house. It's now Memorial Day weekend. I'm still a mess, but he's going away on a UTV trip. I'm still convinced I messed up our relationship, so I even stopped drinking for the month to avoid over-emotional reactions. He comes back from trip and posts his trip pictures, and oops, there she is in the picture. I simply texted thanks. A few weeks go by, I hear nothing, then the texts come in. I hate everything you did. I wanted a future with you. You ruined us. So I gave in. I started talking to him again because I have no solid proof. I sent a message to the woman I suspected on Instagram and no response. So we start seeing each other, having sex. But things are off. One night I came over after a few drinks and felt very tired. but he made sure to keep me from passing out and had to rush me out. So a few days later, I'm out with friends having drinks, and maybe too many, because my friend sent this other woman a message. I know I'm 33, not the most mature, but that sparked her to finally respond to my message from previous month. She confirmed the yellow car I had seen was in fact hers, questioned how I could have had sex with him those mornings when her and her daughter had spent the night. She of course wanted proof, sent her screenshots of our texts. That proves nothing. Wanted me to describe things in his house. I went as far as describing specific candy from local shop in his refrigerator. Her response to all I described was, "Those are odd things to describe." When I refused to tell her my last name, she told me I was Megan or Sherry and said they were happy together and blocked me. I should have described the bleach spot on the mattress from when my monthly friend came during sex. When I called to confront him, he threatens to block me if I call him one more time. Refusing to talk, I called and yup, I was blocked. I'm not sure how many months I was blocked for until the fall I started getting messages again. Started with just, it couldn't have been an old response, it had been months. Then the I miss you text began. I had no idea what their relationship was at this point, but I agreed to meet up and come over to his house. I wanted answers. He wanted me to spend the night. But I refused to have sex or stay the night. I did make a comment about him being poor life choices. No to be hurtful, just protecting myself from this man who hurt me, degraded me, putting a bag over my head, treated me like garbage. He promised we would have a conversation, just not that night, so I left. I received texts for a few days, then he disappeared. Within a few weeks, he began posting pictures with her saying, she's what makes him happy. And within 2 months of that last night, he tried to get me to spend the night. He moved her and her daughter in and proposed to her. After several months, I figured enough time had passed by, and I sent an email just looking for closure, to which I was met with anger, claiming I just wanted to blame him for everything, saying I talk a lot of shit. I told him, in fact, I had not told anyone who he was, and in fact, those I told about what happened, besides my absolute immediate best friends, had no idea who this man was. I dated and told him I emailed instead of text because I did not want a back-and-forth conversation. I wanted his story, who she was, what their history was, how I became involved. I wasn't trying to debate, just wanted his words of what happened. He continued to respond looking for argument, and I never emailed again. It is now a year since that email, and every couple of months since then, I receive a text saying, thinking of you, hope things, Rash, you are good. The last one was just last week. I have never responded. From what I have seen him post, if I look, he has gone from the man trying to have sex with me 2 months before proposing to her and liking almost entirely seductive-looking photos of women on Facebook with a Tinder account as of the same time he last saw me, to now a gym-going family man, driving her daughter to school using his parents' address so she can go to a better school district, posting memes about having a wife. So why the fuck even text me anything? If he is sorry, why not apologize, provide closure? Explain how at the time a 43 to 44-year-old man with an adult daughter and now almost teenage stepdaughter could treat a woman so horribly? If someone put a bag over his daughter's head during sex, is that okay? Or if some guy treats your stepdaughter that way one day, is it okay? I should have communicated better, should have tried to involve myself in his hobbies, but did lacking. Those things mean I deserve being lied to, used, cheated on, degraded. Why is he texting me at all? How do you change so quickly? Foddery. After some useful comments, I'll add some clarifications. I visited his business throughout the years at his request to stop by his business whenever. That was how he were used to communicating once or twice a year. I would stop by or occasionally text from him. When I stopped by to be greeted by unfriendly desk girl, it was because I was used to the freedom to stop by. I never stopped by after that day, and that girl, I have not been by his house in any capacity since that last time he tried to get me to spend the night 2 months before his proposal to her over 1.5 years ago. Despite therapy and us having very different interests, my anxiety has gotten so bad, I avoid the whole small city, or town he lives, unless I need to go to the agency I work at a few times throughout the year, or go to mall cosmetic store. I avoid any restaurants. I once went on occasions near his house. I know he would not be there, but it's too much for me to be that close to his house. After he was caught and he blocked me for that short time, I have never initiated a text, especially now that he is married or engaged. I feel it to be extremely inappropriate, even if I had a desire to communicate with him. He is the one who reached out to me 2 months before proposing to her. He is the one who now texts thinking of you, hope things, you are good every few months for the past year. I have never responded. It is possible and probable when he was first dating her, I was unknowingly the other woman, because at that time I had no knowledge of his social media posts and had no social media accounts. After I was on to him, I have been told by more than one person he has a history of always having 2 women, and he is known to not be so nice to his girlfriends. Now he plays the role of the perfect man, but if he's so happy, why is he still texting her? She doesn't reply. She's not the same woman anymore. But him, he's never changed.